Hello and welcome to another episode of the Socially Numb Podcast. I am your host, Richie Leahey. Today, we're going to be talking about Assassin's Creed. Again, I've teased it for a while now, and I'm starting to finally get into it. So, if you're not familiar, Assassin's Creed is a series created by Ubisoft. I think that's how you say their name. And it's focused around a sect of assassins who are trying to protect the world from Templars, who are their group that they battle with. And they go through history, each fighting for like historical monuments or items that throughout history that give great power. Sort of like it reminds me of Indiana Jones, but with assassins. So Indiana Jones, the Nazis were trying to get these items throughout history, like the Ark of the Covenant that gives you great power. Assassin's Creed is kind of very similar to that, where they're digging up these ancient artifacts that give great power. And so that is what the series is about. And right now, I actually have all of the games, I believe. So the games have been out for a while. And I've never played through the series before. I got them, I mentioned, as a Christmas gift. So that has been a pretty good gift because they started to re-release them as packages. So I had a PS3 back in the day. I was a fan of the original series that Ubisoft did, The Prince of Persia. I had that trilogy. The Prince, he had a lot of what's the stuff called? Parkour. So they did parkour with him, which is basically he would run through a city, climb up and down different things. He would be climbing through obstacles, and that was pretty much the vice of the game. You would have to solve puzzles by maybe climbing up walls, pulling a switch. Maybe he would be jumping across big ravines. You had to time your jumps perfectly. And he had a gimmick called the Sands of Time, which would let you rewind time. So if you messed up, you really didn't die. I mean, I guess you could. So they had these little fountains that you would drink to get health, and they would save the game periodically. So if you did die, you would go automatically back to the end of the water pit or whatever you're at, like a big ravine. Some of them were in kind of like a palace. So you could fall and die and then go back to where you last drank the holy water. And from there, then you would go ahead and you would have your chance. Now, the Sands of Time would let you rewind 10 seconds maybe. I don't remember exactly. It's been a while since I played one. I think they might have been on the GameCube. I think I had that, or maybe they were on the PlayStation 3. I think some of them were on the PlayStation 3 that I got when they first came out. But what we looked at, or what I looked at, was when the games are coming, I like to play as a series. And so even though Assassin's Creed was kind of built off Prince of Persia, apparently they pitched it as the next Prince of Persia, but you weren't really playing as the prince. You were playing as an assassin, and so they thought, well, that doesn't make sense for the Prince of Persia series because you're telling the story of one character. And so they thought, well, let's bring Assassin's Creed out into its own thing, and that's what they did. And I don't think they've made a Prince of Persia really since. They might have made one, but once you tell a story, Assassin's Creed has a whole different world. So a lot of the elements that were in Prince of Persia are in Assassin's Creed. I will say that the parkour stuff is clunky and very hard to get used to. Coming from that, the Prince was very smooth in that regard. He would run up and down buildings, no problem, jump up walls. You knew the controls didn't really feel as gimmicky as what the assassin does. I've had the assassin try to wall jump, where in Prince of Persia he would have did it nice and smooth, very easy. And the controls are a little clunky for the assassin. Maybe that's how they wanted it to be. I don't know. But basically, I played through the first one, and this was a while back, and I didn't really know too much of it. I know that the game was very long, and it got very extremely difficult at the end, and maybe it was something I did, but I know that it was very tough. Everyone was trying to kill you, so the whole time you're running away, hiding, making very slow progress against the map. I don't think you could tear down banners like you could in the second one. I could be wrong, but the second one, there's posters of you, which you can tear down, and once you tear down your posters or bribe an official, then the guards will stop attacking you. So it's very easy to stay intertwined with the story itself. You're not finding yourself doing these menial tasks that just extend the game, and it doesn't feel like a grind. So the very first game felt like a grind to me at the end. Yeah, it was kind of cool. The story was okay. At first, I wasn't really into it as much as you could have been. I mean, I was looking at it from the perspective of the prince. I do like how they say, like, blah, blah, whatever that line is from the book it's based on. Nothing is true. Everything is permitted or whatever. That's a cool tagline that they use to tie the stories together. And they can jump through time. Now, the second one was a great improvement. Really hooked me with the story. And the first one, like I said, left me just a little bit disappointed. And I know other people have played that too and ranked it about the same. And coming from the Prince of Persia series, and again, I've taken a few years off playing Prince of Persia into Assassin's Creed. I just got it because I didn't have a lot of games. And to get into a series, I didn't want to dive into a series. I've also been playing The Witcher, which is more in line with how I can play an RPG game. I can play anytime. If they made Witcher 4 come out and they put it on the Nintendo Switch, it would be as glorious as Zelda was, and I hope that they actually do that. But you never know. And so I have the 3 Witcher games, and so I thought, people want to give me something. I have The Witcher on Steam. I think I have the third one on the PlayStation 4. And so I wanted something else that I could play in the Assassin's Creed, and this was like a year ago already, or 2 years ago. So I got them. Said, yeah, give me those. I'll play through them whenever I have time or I beat my other games. So as you know, as I've been doing the podcast, I've been beating my old PlayStation 3 games. And so I finally arrived where I'm down under 20 now, I think, games left. So, and I do like a game a week. So some of these are longer. Like Dynasty Warriors took me a couple weeks. Assassin's Creed will take me probably a week and a half just because I don't have time to sit down and actually play through the whole game all the time. So I do it when I'm doing other things. I don't even play when I podcast because I like to give a dedicated time to that. So I started playing Assassin's Creed 2, and it is great. I enjoy the game. The story's better. It has me hooked in. And also around this time, the movie was released on DVD, or at least on Vudu, like the digital download. And so I get that. Cool movie. I didn't see anything wrong with it. It actually hooked me more into the video games than what I was expecting. I saw a lot of reviews where people reviewed it negatively, and I think that's a real shame. And I think that's why the movie industry is turning into a dinosaur, because a lot of the reviews just were like, hey, it's just like any other video game movie. Didn't say anything about the movie itself, didn't say anything about the storyline. And yeah, maybe I did play the first one first, and I was kind of glad. I have played Assassin's Creed, and I've talked about streaming. I have test streamed before and streamed Assassin's Creed. I don't think it's saved on my YouTube, though. It was only on Twitch, and I don't even have a paid Twitch. I don't know if that lets you keep them forever. But I know on my Twitch, they were deleted by now. But if you go to my channel, you'll see the last one I played was Assassin's Creed China, maybe. No, Russia was the last one. But I don't know if that's the last one I streamed. And so I have been testing streaming, but like with the PlayStation 3, they don't have that built in. So I'm not able to really get into streaming on the PlayStation 3, and I'm not going to buy a box for it. So what I've talked about it before, I've teased it out. So what my idea is, when I'm done with the PlayStation 3 games, and I'm playing strictly PC games, maybe Witcher, I'll probably beat the first Witcher by then. So I might start with the second one, where I can play and stream at the same time. That's what I'll do. And so I will be eventually getting around to that. I don't think I'll be doing Nintendo games just because of their weird restrictions. And if a game gets tagged, whenever I back it up to YouTube, then that's it. I won't be doing that game anymore. So I'll just kind of play it by ear. A lot of the games I have on Steam are older games, like old first-person shooters that I haven't played through either in a while or never. Like one of the ones I beat back in the day was like Turok, the first Turok for the N64. There was Duke Nukem 3D. I'm going to play through that again. So things like that. If I can stream them, I'll stream them, and then it will give me just an extra point of content. Maybe bring some more people into the podcast and vice versa. Maybe some podcast listeners will go over and watch the stream if they like video games or whatever, because that seems to be what is the whole of the podcast right now, as it is my own little video game podcast. Now, back to Assassin's Creed and the movie. Again, I feel it's a shame that they just lump the movie in and they say it's just like any other video game movie. But I like the actor. I think he was Michael Fassbender, maybe. I don't really watch a lot of movies because it's beyond me. People waste time sitting and watching a screen. Yeah, if you're out in a community, that's different. But whenever you're out and about, hanging out with friends, I feel like video games are more community-based. You can talk and hang out while you play video games. Not so much when you watch a movie. You have to kind of be quiet. And I think like that's why the industry itself for movies have been going down. Because now you always see it. I saw it on the Assassin's Creed one. They put up a disclaimer like, don't stream this illegally. You're supporting so many jobs or whatever. But what was once a huge billion-dollar industry is kind of losing its way. Same with television. Now that they're streaming shows, you see a lot of shows that are on cable network. The viewership's going down. They can only support one or two shows, get the viewings. The rest of them, the ratings are way down over the years. Same with sports. And I just think it's the way. Once people get more of a choice, that's going to be it. So I don't know what will change. And that's the same here. Even me with my daughter, like we stream children's shows from Ireland's television show. They have an app. We can stream it. And she can watch other cartoons and stuff for kids. Because I don't like some of the issues and stuff that they put in the United States ones where they're trying to like bring in this social awkwardness and like shame that they build. So we'll just watch something different. They don't need to have these random, hey, here's a moral kids show. No, we'll just watch a kids show from a different country then, because we have options now. When before you wouldn't have had that option. And so that's where, like, I don't think there should be politics in children's shows. It starts to loop in. Disney does it with their kids shows. We just don't watch them then. And then they're going to have to deal with the consequences. If that's the route they want to go, then they have no one to blame but themselves if they fail. And the movie industry is the same way. They're out of ideas. So here's a fresh idea, Assassin's Creed. I haven't seen any other movie like it. None of the other critics did. The critics that liked it, and I don't think anyone that I saw had said that they played the games. They were just going into it with a fresh mind. Every single one that didn't like it just said it was another video game movie, which doesn't make any sense. It was kind of like they had an agenda. And I'm pretty sure that it had like mixed reviews. And I only researched it after I watched it because I thought, I might as well do a little research before I do the podcast and just to see what other people are thinking, because I didn't want to come in cold after I enjoyed the movie. And so I really enjoyed the movie, like I said, and the games that hooked me in. So now they're basically, again, they're chasing. I don't want to give too much away. But if you watch the movie, the game is very similar, at least the first couple games. Now, I did remember that I did play Freedom's Cry, which was a DLC. So basically how it worked was, and I think I streamed that one too for a bit. So whenever I got all these games for Christmas a few years ago, they would give you download keys. So I had a download key for Freedom Cry, which was like, and I wanted to play through all the games, which is attached to Assassin's Creed 4. Now, on that one, whenever I played it, I don't remember any of the animus. Same with the Assassin's Creed Chronicles, which was China, India, and Russia. So I downloaded all those. Those were the 4 games that I played. The 3 Chronicle games, again, it's China, India, and Russia. And then the Freedom Cry, which is the slave trading one, where you're like a slave that breaks out of the slave trade and you have to go liberate a bunch of slaves. But again, I don't remember being in the Animus. I know the Animus was the main menu, so I didn't really know, based on those couple games, what the story was with the Animus or who I was or what I was doing. So I played those last year before the podcast started. I did stream them a bit, and I streamed them a little bit as I was beating the last one. And now I'm cycling back through, and I thought, well, I might as well play the Assassin's Creed games in order. And so the next thing I did was I started to play through, and I noticed that like Assassin's Creed 1 had no trophies. So I played it, didn't really talk about it on the podcast, even though I either beat it right when the podcast was starting or a while back. And I noticed that like, hey, I thought, well, if I'm going to talk about games on the podcast, I might as well do the ones that have trophy. That way people can see that I've actually beaten the games, and they can see what trophies I've gotten. If you look at my profile, you can see what games I've beaten. I figured that was fair, because I know a lot of people reviewing these games, they don't play them. They don't beat them. I know people that do that. For a fact, they tell you right to your face if you ask them, like, hey, how far did you get in that game? I only played whatever else required. They wanted me to do like a 500-word story or whatever. So I just played for about a half hour and got my reaction. Now, some of the people, if they actually like the game, they'll go out and play it more. And you can see, and a lot of people just phone in articles. So like, here's this, and this is why I didn't like it, and this is why I did, and that's it. And then most of them are kind of recycled the same formula over and over and over again. If you think of the IGN reviews, their writers were told, okay, here are the categories. First, talk about graphics. Here are the ones, and then talk about controls, or here's sound. I don't remember what all the categories were, but basically each article was the same. They give them a template, like, okay, talk about this for a few paragraphs, talk about this, and then rank each paragraph, and then that way you'll have a full review. And I guess it's a good formula that works. I know that's how it was back in the day before like the internet really took hold. And even whenever it did, when that was like one of the only sites that had reviews, other people would still get their reviews from magazines or newspapers or whatever. But there was really no way to do research and to find out. And so that's what your goal was. Find out if you would like the game. And I'll tell you, if you haven't played the Assassin's Creed, you can't find any of the games in the series. You can't find a cheaper way the series is long enough where you can get 2 or 3 games on a disc, maybe for $10-$12. I want to say one of the triple, okay, so like the first game I had to get by itself, I think I paid $12 for. Off the top of my head, I don't have my Amazon up, but that was the hardest one to find. So the trilogy that I'm playing right now is Assassin's Creed 2, Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, which I didn't beat yet, I'm playing right now, and then Assassin's Creed Revelation, which would be the next one. So I'm playing through that trilogy, and then the third trilogy, or the second trilogy, which is the third set of games after the first one, and then that set is Assassin's Creed 3, Assassin's Creed Liberation, which is tied in with 3, then Assassin's Creed 4, and then I think the downloadable content that I got for that special disc was the Freedom's Cry. So there's actually a 4th game tied in with that, which is its own kind of standalone game, which is the one I played first. And then they went ahead, and so like the first one set way back in time, you play as one character. The second series, the ones that I'm playing now, Assassin's Creed 2, Brotherhood, and Revelations, you're playing through a similar story arc. Assassin's Creed 3 and Liberation, I believe, are similar story arcs. Assassin's Creed 4 and Freedom Cry, which Freedom Cry is a little bit different. It might even be Freedom's Cry, I don't know. But that one is a separate storyline, but it's still tied into the same time period. You're selling a ship and doing other things that you did in Assassin's Creed 4. And so with that, then you had all these other games that they had follow Assassin's Creed Rogue, which I have, another cheap one that you can pick up. Assassin's Creed, Unity, and then the latest one, Assassin's Creed Syndicate. And so I'm kind of I have all of them, like I said. I got them all around the holidays that one year whenever Syndicate came out. I thought, hey, it's about time to catch back up. A lot of the other series I play, they haven't been releasing any new games. And I'm not one to just jump in a series or go into a rehash. And I'll loop back around to the movies. Like I said, I think Hollywood's out of ideas. They're basically printing five comic book movies a year, 5 or 6, and those are the big budget movies, where if you have read the comic books, you know what happens. So you're kind of just like losing some of your imagination. Some of the comic book movies, yeah, I'm excited for. Like I was excited for Logan whenever I saw the trailer for the X-Men, the Wolverine movie. And so there's that one. I mean, there's a bunch of the other ones that we've been watching in the Marvel Universe. The Wonder Woman movie looks kind of good. But again, every movie I want to see is kind of tied to comic books or like video games. Outside of that, there's no other grand movie that I see and I thought, you know what, I want to see that. And I remember back in the day, like a decade ago or so, maybe like Gladiator came out, I thought that's a cool movie. 300 came out afterwards. There were some other ones, like even going further back when Braveheart came out. That was one where I thought, wow, this is really cool. Braveheart, that tells a story. That's kind of like historical fiction. But other than that, I don't know. Like, I don't know what they're doing. They're not putting out any movies that interest me. The comedies that they put out now, I don't think are really that funny. I don't know if it's because the comedians they have writing them are out of touch or they're just not, they don't appeal to me. Maybe I am getting too old, but like here I see Assassin's Creed. A lot of people dogged the movie. But I didn't see that at all. I thought it was pretty cool, and I would watch it again. I did watch it twice. I watched it the next day because I thought, let me see if there's anything I missed in this story so that whenever I podcast, I can see. And no, I would watch it again because I thought it was cool. The storyline, I know I keep saying cool, I sound like an idiot, but I enjoyed the movie very much. And so playing through the games, here's a chance if you haven't played them, be like me, play through them. They're old games you can get for cheap. And that's basically what this podcast is about. Games for cheap is what it's kind of morphed itself into. Our gaming on a budget. Because as adults, you don't have time to video game. And you don't want to spend a ton of money. You don't want to spend $60 on some Call of Duty that you might play for half of a month. And then, boom, everyone's gone. And they're moved on to some other $60 game. But like you're not at the age where you have responsibilities. So you're not at that age anymore where you can just sit and play games. You do have responsibilities, to clear that up because I messed that up when I said it. But you have responsibilities and you don't have time to just relax and play. So I play whenever I find free time. Yeah, I play basically for the podcast. And so I make time to do that and kind of unwind. Can only work so hard in your life. It's a good escape. I saw some people were like, video games are a waste. Instead, I watch movies. But to me, that's the same thing. At least in video games, you're kind of working your brain because you're finding little holes and different things and puzzles you're playing. Not depending on the game. Some of them, you don't use your brain at all. There are some, and some people did make fun of that Assassin's Creed back in the day. The first one, where you just held in sprint the whole time and climbed walls and stuff, and then the game was over. But there were a lot of battling. And so now, yeah, is it a very tough, strenuous game? No. Does it take some strategy? Yeah, there are some parts that are annoying and will take some strategy, especially if you're trying to get 100% sync. And that will link me to the next part of this podcast, talking about the Platinum Trophy. All right. So I know that the Xbox has a different trophy scheme, but if you've listened to this podcast before, or if you just see the Assassin's Creed title and you think, I'll listen to this. But basically, this podcast is going to cover the first Assassin's Creed and the second Assassin's Creed game, and basically the movie. If you listen to it this far in, you know that that's what I've been talking about the whole time. Well, the Xbox uses their own thing. I'm playing on the PlayStation, so they use trophies, and the top one is a Platinum. Now, you can only get the Platinum if you unlock all the other trophies. I know the Xbox has something similar. I just don't know what it's called, and so I know it's some type of achievement. But I'm pretty sure that the trophies are the same across both platforms. And so I never trophy hunt, because to me, like I said, I play video games for an escape. I don't play them as a time kill. And my trophy count just shows how many games I've beaten and how often you play or whatever. But it's never something where like I would put it, like obviously you can't put it on your resume. Maybe if you're trying to be a video game tester or something. I don't know, but you can't just go ahead and throw it out there. And then from there, you don't have really anywhere else. Unless your friends are looking at your trophy count, no one else really knows how many trophies you have. Like off the top of my head, I had to look and see that I think I'm still at level 12, even though I've been beating a lot of these games. Now, the reason I'm not higher, even though I have a bunch of games beat, is because I don't go after the Platinum. So when I play a game, I do not look at the trophy list before I play. And I'll tell you why. Because when I was brought up, there were no trophies. Back in the day, you played a game and it was a fresh experience. So that's how I like to treat all video games. I like to go in fresh. And if the game is good, it should be challenging. It should kind of steer you in the right direction. I've played games before where I'm like, what am I doing? Where am I? I have no idea what I'm supposed to do and what's going to happen. And yeah, Assassin's Creed does do a lot of the hand-holding, but it's also open world. You can go and find different quests and do them in different order. And to be honest, the best game that I've played at that would be the new Zelda that came out for the Switch. But that's another story whenever I finally beat that game. Because like I said, I've been playing Assassin's Creed for the podcast. And so when I play other games for the podcast, I don't have time to beat yet other games. Now the Nintendo Switch gives me a little bit more freedom because I can play on my commute and things. And so that's great. And I'll be bringing some Switch games in too. But as I'm playing through Assassin's Creed, I can go through and I can play as much into the game as I want. So like I know on the first Assassin's Creed, as I'm getting like these viewpoints, I don't know if those are tied into a trophy in later games, but maybe I could see myself, all right, well, if I only have 10 more viewpoints to find and I see them on my map, maybe I will spend some time running around trying to escape these bad guys and sink in the viewpoints just to see what else the map has. Now, some of the other things when they try to find, like there were flags, I think, in the first game. I had to find flags that were basically put up by the other team, I think. So you collect their flags, which would in turn, people wouldn't see them and then they wouldn't be aware of them. So you're kind of hurting them from the inside. So I did like that part of the game. You're kind of finding things that kind of tied into the story, but they really didn't. And so when I played the first Assassin's Creed, I thought, would I be doing these if they were for trophies? And would I be doing them if they weren't? Because back in the day, you could say like, hey, yeah, I got all those. I know they weren't on the map, but that means you had to scour the map, or you could look it up online. I'm sure someone has a map if you wanted to cheat, which a lot of people do for trophies. And so that's why the trophies are meaningless in the grand scheme of things, because everyone can cheat at them. And then there's a thing called trophy boosting, which if people aren't aware. And what that means is you get on trophy boosting and that you can go online, find someone who has the same game. And I even had someone message me out of the blue on RBI Baseball. I don't know if they saw, I did tweet about it. I don't know if someone saw my tweet. And then I think my Twitter name before I switched it for this podcast was the same as my gamer tag, just rleahey14. Before I switch it to Richie Leahey, just to make it easier for people to find, because they could look in the show notes of the podcast itself. But you have basically everything down in front of you online. Someone is going to have a trophy map, and you have a booster. You find someone else to help you boost the multiplayer ones, where there might be one where it's like win 10 matches online. You find someone to boost with, you win your 10, get your trophy, and then you lose 10 for them to get their trophy. And so you go back and forth, and that's basically how it should be. And after that point, I mean, really, what are you doing? You're wasting time out of your day to try to meet some stranger just so that you can... You're not even playing the game, so it's not fun. And that's how I look at it. Am I having fun if I'm grinding and trying to, like, find these hidden treasures or, like, try to kill... I think the one for Assassin's Creed 2, because so I beat Assassin's Creed 1 back in the day. Then I played through Assassin's Creed 2. A huge improvement on the game. The fighting's better. What were one of the things I said that would... ripping down posters. I mentioned it earlier in the show about being annoying on the first game. You couldn't get rid of these guys. They would just track you around and kind of just attack you. So there was no way to avoid them. And so with the second game, you could go ahead and bribe officials. You could rip down posters. And whenever you rip them down, then they would quit harassing you. And so it did give me some freedom. And there were thoughts like, hey, yeah, I could go ahead and collect all these. And I said before that when I recorded the last podcast, I mentioned it. Like, hey, I think I'm close on the Platinum Trophy. I'm like 80% or whatever. I think I have to rebuild the city. I don't know if I have to get 100%, which it wasn't. It was 80%. And I might even knew that last week before I recorded, because I did look it up just to see, because you can go into the PlayStation 3, into the trophy section, and we'll tell you what you missed. And then some of them don't make sense depending on the publisher. It will be like, I don't know, like an example would be like Star of the Night in some game, and then you're like, what does that mean? And then it's like, you have to light all these candles. Well, it doesn't tell you that in the description. It just says a hero that blinds the darkness or something weird. And so depending on the publisher, yeah, you have to kind of find one that explains the trophies, or you can look online and see what you have to do. There are other ones that are hidden trophies, which are annoying. But I guess that gets you playing through the game. And so here with Assassin's Creed 2, I really thought about it. And there were a couple, like you had to kill 10 guys without getting hit. And staying in conflict, which I was like, well, I'll try that out here. And everyone was running away. So I would leave conflict to chase these guys down, and I would never get the trophy to pop. And so I looked online. I'm like, well, what are you supposed to do? And I saw the comments that it was supposed to be done during one of the story mode. And so people were replaying the game to get to that one chapter where you had to do like an escort a guy through the thing, and you could kill people. But when I was playing the game, I wasn't in that conflict. I was literally just trying to escort that dude. And I was like, well, I'm not going to go back through and play the game if I can't get it naturally. And yeah, I'm sure you could. There are some parts in the game, and I had already beaten the game, so it's a little bit harder to go through and get the wanted level. Like if you're in a castle siege, yeah, you might have endless guys going and trying to kill you, and then they don't run away because it's part of the story. But whenever you beat the story, you don't have that luxury. And I wasn't just going to go play through to get that trophy. And there were a couple other ones too, like the feather one. You had to find 100 feathers. I wasn't just going to go collect 100 feathers. I just wanted to see how easy it would be to get a platinum. Now, like I said, I do have a platinum. I just won, just to show that anyone can do it. It's just a matter of how much time do you want to waste to get all these platinums. And yeah, I guess some people, the more platinums, the more of a gamer they feel. And I understand that. It does give you accomplishment. You're spending money. Like I said, every time I buy a game, I make a habit to beat it. Just like if I would buy a movie, I'd make a habit to watch it. I know people that don't do that. They go buy like 5 movies at a time, watch 1 or 2 of them, and then they forget that they even bought them. Kind of like an impulse purchase. Or same with video games. And like I said, if I wasn't doing the podcast, would I be buying new games or getting new ones? Probably not, because I haven't beat any of these old ones. Yeah, doing a podcast is a game a week where I talk about it. That kind of drives me forward. And yeah, that works out. Because there I am playing games, and it's giving me something to talk about. And I enjoy doing the podcast. I've talked about it before. The podcast, as long as I'm concerned, as I'm building out my site and my portfolio stuff, it probably will never end. And so it's very good for me. It kind of like, I don't want to say it's a stress relief, but it's kind of something to get your mind off things. So I would recommend anyone to do a podcast or like live video streams. Maybe that's something I move into in the future. Get the length of the podcast down, which this one might be a good bit shorter than previous ones because I've been going over an hour. I just start talking on a topic and I get into it, and then next thing I know, the podcast is over. I'm trying to cut it down, and I don't like to cut out content. Like I've said before, these are pretty much just live runs. I don't like to cut out content because to me this is practice for public speaking and other things that would improve my career. And that's why I like to do it. It just gives me another outlet of things to work on and put out some content and help build up my site, my portfolio site or whatever. And even though that work is still underway, it's very hard to write and proofread articles and port them over like from 3 or 4 different sources into one format. It's very hard and very time consuming. And I have some things going on in my life right now that take precedence over that. And I know I've been rushing to try to get them done by April. And it's just looking like it's not going to happen right now. And unfortunately, yeah. Well, actually, I think it is April now. Yeah, it already is April. So by the time I put this out, it won't even matter. That's not going to happen. And so I have some other big events coming up and stuff, things that I'm going to cover. Try to go to a concert and stuff. So I was going to see if I can get backstage. But it all depends on what's going to cover and what happens. And so with that, I'm going to keep playing a game a week. And I recommend series. So a lot of the games that I play, I've beaten pretty much all of these games. So it's kind of like growing up with an attachment to something. And yeah, maybe if someone like grew up with an attachment to Batman, they'll want to see every Batman movie. To me, I'm not rushing out to see them. I'll see them when they're cheap or they're on Netflix or wherever, whenever I can get my hands on them. But to me, I don't like to sit down and just watch movies because to me that takes a lot of time and like effort to put away. Is it good relaxing? Yes, it's great relaxing in doing that. But with Netflix now, people can watch hour shows, which are basically half a movie, and binge watch them. And if you think about it, you see a series now. I'm not just waiting months between Batmans. And then I have to supplement my Batman love with maybe a cartoon Batman. which people did in the 90s. I know people like adults would watch this cartoon Batman. To me, I never really got into the hype of that, but I know people who love Batman so much that that's what they did. They just wanted to watch every Batman thing and they consumed it, and that was it. And now the only new Batman things coming out are cartoons or a movie every year. And so you have to wait in between that. If you're into video games, you could play through a bunch of other Batman games. I do have a Batman game, and I think it is vastly overrated, and it's annoying to me, and I haven't been able to get through the opening credits, really, because of the over-the-shoulder camera. Frustrating. And yeah, I know. And I never even beat Resident Evil 5. I think I'm on the last chapter. I think there's 6, and I'm on the last chapter 6 of that. But I don't know. I did look to see how close I was to finishing. That's how I know. Because I'm like, oh, I'll beat that. And then I got wrapped up. I saw the Assassin's Creed movie, and it got me all pumped up to play Assassin's Creed. And so now that's what I've been doing. And here I'm almost done. I'm through Brotherhood. I'm playing through the first couple segments or memories. What I'm doing, I don't even know which one I'm on or how long this game is. But I'll have to look it up and see if I get stuck or whatever. But right now, actually, I don't even look up things if I'm stuck. I look up, so what I do is if I get stuck in a game, I just take a little break from it, and then I come back fresh. The one game that's going to be brutal to do that for, and I'm already dreading it, is Ninja Gaiden, or Ninja Gaiden, however you say that. And I'm pretty sure there was one boss that was so brutal, halfway through the game, everything had to be perfect to kill her or him, I can't remember. And I did it. And after that boss battle, because it took me nights, and I got pretty sure I just got lucky to beat her. I looked it up online. I was like, how far am I to the end? And everyone said that was like the hardest boss in the game. And I can't remember, because then after that, I'm like, well, I'm just going to take a little break, and I'll cycle back through this game and then play fresh. Because after that, it turns into such a grind and such a rewarding fight that you finally win, and I wanted to savor in that victory. So then I'll just cycle back through some other time and try to beat it again and finish my game. And then I'll bring it in here and talk about it on the show. And so that's what I'm doing. And with Assassin's Creed, it gives me some pretty good content. Yeah, the games take me a little bit longer to beat. But I think I still have one Shovel Knight chapter, which I beat, to talk about. And I have some other games that I could beat really quick while I'm playing Assassin's Creed. And so it works out well. And I do enjoy the series. And like I said, get them for cheap. At this point, if you haven't been gaming for a while and you want to game on a budget, find series that you think you'd be interested in. Like if you like Batman, go get the Batman series. They're cheap games, and they're going to give you, each 20 hours? So I consider it like this. If you have a movie that you watch for 2 hours and it costs $20, hell, if you go to the movie theater and you have a date, it costs upwards of $50 to $60 to go to the movies. If you're going to treat her and you want to get some food, I know they have some sit-in theaters that are cheaper. I think we went for $40 to one of those. And it came with like endless popcorn, endless drink, which is a much better deal. So if you have one of those, go to those. But to me, like I assume a movie, if I buy it on DVD, or if I buy it on Blu-ray, it's $20. Let's say that. That's like the upwards price I'll pay. I won't pay any more than that for anything. So $20 I pay a movie, I get 2 hours of entertainment of. If I go and play Assassin's Creed, I told you I got the first one for $12 because it's been out of date. I had to find it online on some old shop and then hope it came, which it did. Then hope it worked, which it did. So then I have this series, this trilogy, which I'm pretty sure was less than $20. I think it was like $18. The second trilogy might have been more. I think it might have been $30. But that's because I got a bonus. I think it was on Christmas where you get a DLC content for Freedom's Cry. And so I got that. So basically I got 4 games for, again, $30. So it's each under $10 each. I'm pretty sure is what it was. And I didn't even pay for these, like I said. They were just Christmas product gifts that I got. Presents is what the word I was thinking of. But Christmas presents that I received. And so with that, the investment, instead of people just telling me, hey, get a movie, here I am playing Assassin's Creed. I'm still 3 weeks in. I don't remember when I started playing the second one, but now I'm on Brotherhood, and I'm hooked in to the storyline with Ezio as I'm trying to find out what happened back in Rome. And now I'm hooked. So it is cool. If you like history, it's very good because it goes back through and you're jumping around through different cities and different time frames, and you get to see guys like Machiavelli, and you see Leonardo Da Vinci, I believe. Yeah, I think because there's an add-on called Da Vinci's Disappearance, which I think, and I don't know for sure, but so Assassin's Creed 2 had some DLC content, and by buying this 3 greatest hits pack or whatever it's called, it might have been like the Ezio Trilogy Assassin's Creed game disc, I also got the free downloadable content. So I did get to play those too. Which one of them, I think there's like a flying and kick a guy trophy. I did get that in the bonus content. I didn't get it when it first happened because when I kicked the guy, it didn't pop and then I died. So what I had to do was kick him and then land it, and then in the bonus content, and then it did pop for me as I was like looking at the platinum stuff. But to me, maybe I'll circle around. I talked about maybe I could circle around and do it, but I don't know. Because I'll tell you why. If I'm going to do something like that, I'm going to grind, I would like to stream it. And with the PlayStation 3 I mentioned earlier, and this is me coming full circle in the episode, and probably ending it early here, is I just don't want to waste time playing a game if I'm not going to stream it. I can talk, give extra content out there on the web, and it would be a little bit better. And I don't think, my problem with some of these have online modes, and then you're streaming online, and then it's kind of awkward, and then you're just fighting over and over again. So I don't like doing that, and I don't think they should be allowed to have online game trophies. Because to me, yeah, I understand like some of them, you can get achievements if it's multiplayer only. I don't know. I think they should have a separate section for that. Actually, I don't know what they can do. But to me, like I think of Star Wars Battlefront. I always get Battlefront and Battlefield confused, even when people are talking to me about them. Because I never played Battlefield, and I call Star Wars just Star Wars. I never call it Battlefront. Plus, that game was like one of the most shallow games I've ever played. And if I didn't get that as a gift, I would have been so disappointed buying that game. Just playing online, and then they immediately want you to buy the season pass. That's a no-go. I don't even know if I've ever bought a season pass. I'll probably get Zelda just because that Zelda game is awesome. And maybe Doom. But again, that depends because I started to play Doom and there was one multiplayer style that I liked. And I went back to play it a few months ago and it didn't even have players, which is a bummer because I like that game. So here I am playing Doom, which is another one. I have that trilogy for the PlayStation 3 as well. And those are underway too. So I have a bunch of games that are half beat. And I've just been kind of cycling back through because I'll get in the mood to play a first-person shooter. I'll play Doom. Then I'll go get through a move to play like a third-person fighting game, like Assassin's Creed or like a adventure game, or like Ninja Gaiden, Dynasty Warriors, that type of thing. Dynasty Warriors is more like a hack and slash, but like I'll get in the mood to play one of those, and I'll start it, play through halfway, get bored, or get something else hooked my interest, like Assassin's Creed. And I'll just get diving into them. And so I have a bunch of other games that are almost half beat, if not more beat. And so this game a week thing will be continuing for the next couple months as I try to finish up the PlayStation 3. After that, we'll still be trying to beat a game a week, and I might be streaming in addition to it. But I know I've teased that before, and I don't want to give any solid, yes, I'm doing this, or no, I'm not doing that. And it might take me a lot longer to beat the 20 PlayStation 3 games that I still have. Because I want to beat them before I start to stream. Because then that gives me a little bit more freedom on what I can do. And I do know, I think I can stream a picture of myself if I have a PlayStation 4 camera. And I don't know if that's wired in or wireless or what. But that's something else I would have to mess with too. So that's it. I'll wrap this one a little bit shorter than I have been doing because I've been getting into an hour podcast and I don't like to do that. But like I said, Assassin's Creed, my thoughts on it, I really enjoy it. And I'll be bringing in another one too, probably soon because I'm going to beat up Brotherhood and I want to finish this trilogy. And then I might circle back out, take a little break from Assassin's Creed, hopefully beat Resident Evil 5. I don't know if I'll jump on that in between this game or not. But I have been close. And that's what I'll be trying to do. So that's it for this week. Thank you for listening. If you have any questions or concerns, reach out to me. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, whatever, Facebook, Richie Leahey. Search me on there. And I'll catch back with you next week. So thanks again for listening. See you next week.